Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Make Our World Your Runway. You know, this is the show that features the most fascinating individuals from the world of pageantry, modeling, fashion, beauty, business, and even the entertainment industry. But before we bring on our fabulous and special guest today, we always have a few announcements that we like to make. We want to tell everyone, remember to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can view all the shows from Make Our World Your Runway and Success Stories. And I highly recommend tuning into Success Stories produced by the Global Trade Chamber. They are highlighting stories from the most amazing women in the world of business and community service. And as always, Volume 2 of the 100 Most Successful Women in Business is now available on Amazon. Again, I highly recommend you get a copy today of Volume 2. This best-selling book highlights some of the most amazing accomplishments of women in business and community service from around the world. Now, if you are a successful woman, you will want to order your copy today. And get ready for the amazing business expos and conferences with some of the most successful women and entrepreneurs and business leaders. Register now for the Women Business Expo and Conferences 2023 coming up in San Francisco and Dallas, Texas. So for complete information on these conferences, be sure to visit their website at www.100swb.com for all the details. And the big announcement, America's #1 event for international trade companies, the Global Trade Chamber Convention Awards and Conferences in Puerto Rico. That's going to take place October 25th to the 29th, 2023. You need to book your tickets now because this is going to be a complete sellout. Trust me, I have done many events in Puerto Rico, and I can tell you, the world goes there, everybody loves it, and it will sell out. So get your tickets today. And now on to our show, and as we always like to say, lights, camera, action. It's Make Our World Your Runway. And before we bring our guest on, we want to give you a little bit about her. Okay, she was born in North Carolina, and she grew up in the military for the first portion of her life. She eventually ventured on to Florida, where she spent most of the years growing into the person that she is today. She went off to college, and she got a degree in computer-aided drafting and designs, where she started working for the Tampa Electric Company. Later, she started modeling, and even she entered into beauty pageants at the age of 30. She won several titles and was able to build confidence levels to where she is today. She enjoys volunteering for different charities and helping others, and she loves the life that she lives with her friends, her family, and whoever she meets. And also, we were so proud of her because last week she attended a luncheon that was put on by Purpose Never Dies, hosted by Dr. D. Thompson, where many people got the President's Volunteer Awards, and also the highest award was the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Miss International Classic 2022, the fabulous and beautiful Miss Tracy Stephens. Tracy, welcome to Make Our World Your Runway.
Angela, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and I do appreciate it so much that you actually invited me. I was honored to be part of that Presidential Awards. It was just an amazing event, and thank you so much.
No, it was our pleasure. Was that not such an amazing event? I mean, the people that got up there and got those awards, and we even had anchors from NBC that were there, so there was a lot of VIP celebrities. And the funniest thing is we even had a king that showed up.
Yes, we did actually. And it was amazing. The people were dressed amazing. Like some of the designer outfits they had on were just out of this world. The king was amazing to meet as well. His entourage was just so sweet, so nice to each and every one of us. We got to take pictures with a lot of people. It was just a beautiful event.
Yeah, it was. You know, when he first walked in, I was saying, what is this entourage doing? You know, I knew that he was going to attend, but I didn't realize that he had such an entourage there. Unbelievable. So I think that was probably one of the highlights of the luncheon. And then when the Signature Grand came out and they really did their luncheon, when they said, you know, now the Signature Grand presents their luncheon, I was waiting for a few fireworks and the lights to go off. But I mean, the presentation that they did was absolutely fabulous. It was an amazing luncheon. And you ladies did a great job. We were so honored and proud that, you know, we were asked to have the ladies of Miss International World walk in the honorees. So that was just an amazing presentation.
Yes, it was. Like I said, when we walked in, the four of us girls that were the, prior pageant, girls that won the titles, it just felt so good. It kind of felt like we were on top of the world, knowing that the people behind us were just amazing people and they were going to get this just absolutely amazing, beautiful award. So it kind of made us feel really, really important.
Yeah, no, it was. It was absolutely beautiful. Now a little bit about yourself. I mean, I was very impressed when you said that at the age of 30, you started modeling and got into, the world of pageantry and won a few titles. And of course, you won our title last year. So what made you decide with, getting a degree and working for Tampa Electric, what made you decide to get into modeling and pageantry?
Well, it actually started out kind of like with a very bad relationship, unfortunately, and I think we've all kind of been through those. And my self-confidence level was pretty low. So my girlfriend looked at me and she's like, Tracy, you're all that in 10 bags of chips. You need to start, getting into something that's going to make you feel good. She goes, you've always loved modeling. You've always, loved being in front of the camera. She's like, why don't you try a pageant? And I was like, oh, no, no way. I'm not good enough for that. So I decided, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm a type of girl that when I die, I want to say I've done everything in my life that I've actually set out to do. So I entered a pageant and I won. I was so shocked. It started bringing back my confidence level again, and I just went from there. I've won several titles throughout and I'm 50 now. I have no shame in my age. So within that time frame, I have won several titles. I've been on the runway multiple times. I've done just fun photo shoots. I've met a lot of, great people, a lot of great friends. And it's just been a wonderful experience. And I highly recommend any girl, I don't care how you think you feel or how you look, join pageantries, do, modeling, do fun things that just makes you feel on top of the world. And it'll give you back that confidence that you need, and never, ever let someone take that from you, ever.
Exactly. And that reminds me of a story, and her name was Tracy too. If you're involved in the world of pageantry, and how I started out in pageantry was with an organization called the Mrs. Globe, a pageant. And it's, believe it or not, it's run by a woman. Her first name is Tracy Campbell. And she actually was in a very bad relationship. And she started getting into modeling and pageantry, and she won a few titles. And then she started the Mrs. Globe organization. But she also has a charity that's attached to it called the WIN Foundation, which its letters WIN, and it actually stands for Women in Need. And their pageant is a fundraiser for domestic violence women. I mean, she's also gotten several shelters set up for women that have been domestically abused. And she's done this not only in the States, but she's pretty much done it around the world. And it's really made a hit. I mean, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California, he was behind that very much. So your story and her story seem to be similar. And, unfortunately, in the first marriage I had, I came out of that abusive situation. And back then I was more in the entertainment industry, and I had an ex that was very jealous and wouldn't let me progress. But you know what? I just put it in my head that was not going to stop me, got out of that relationship. And, from that point on, there it is. So you have a great story to tell on that.
Thank you so much, Angela. And it is a very beautiful story. I've actually been a spokesmodel at a fashion show where we did part of our fashion show gave back to, abused men and women, because, men get abused as well as women do. So yes, I was thrilled. Yes, I was thrilled to, to be asked to speak about it. It was hard, because I don't like talking about, the past, but I got through it. Somehow I got through it, and it was just amazing. And I inspired a lot of girls to, get up and do things that they really want to do, and never ever, think that they're less than.
And it's funny you should say that about men going through abusive too, because Al, which of course you met, has been my second husband. We've been married for over 31 years. But he always said that it wasn't physical, but he was actually going through mental abuse. And he knew that was a relationship that he had to get out of. So you're right about that. Women go through, domestic violence, but men do as well too. I don't, sometimes a lot of people don't recognize that, but that is definitely the situation. It's not talked about a lot because you hear more of it about women. But yes, men can go through a little bit of domestic violence abuse themselves, maybe not physical, but mentally. And that can really prey on somebody if you really think about it.
Oh, yes, for sure, because that's what mine was. He wasn't physically abusive to me, but he was mentally, to the point where he just, he grinded me down so low that I just felt like I was not worth of anything. And that was such a bad feeling. It was a bad place to be in. But thank God I had friends who supported me, came around me and said, you can do this. And I got out there and I did it.
Oh yeah, no, and we're proud of you for that. And it was so funny because when I met Al, he said to me, he says, "You've got a lot of talent." And I said to him, I laughed at that, and he said, "No, no, no." He said, "You've got to get back out there." He said, "Don't let anything stop you." Al was never the jealous type. He still isn't. Okay. In fact, when I was in the cosmetic industry, and one paycheck I brought home, he said, "You're rivaling my salary." He said, we laughed about that, but he always felt that, you know what, went in the same pocket. And he always said to me, "I don't care if you make more money than me or I make more money than you." He said, "But it's all going into the same, so we both benefit by it." He said, and he does not have till this day, he does not have a jealous bone in his body. I always say he took 400 steps backwards to make me go 200 steps forward. But there it is. That's a working relationship. You're going to laugh about this one. This morning, they brought on some statistics up on television about people that are married forever and sleep in separate bedrooms because somebody snores or somebody steals the covers. And it was so funny because Al and I were just listening to that and looking at each other, and we said, "You don't ever remember doing that, sleeping in a separate bedroom." Okay. And I'll be honest, I'm the cover stealer. Okay. I will pull all the covers. But again, so there you are. It's all about a working relationship. And I'm sure you can agree on that.
For sure. And Anthony is the cover stealer in our relationship, so I get it. I just steal him right back. And he doesn't have a problem with that. But I would never sleep in a separate room from him because I'm always reaching over in the middle of the night, touching to make sure he's still there. But I would never sleep in a separate room either.
Well, I kind of feel sorry for my husband because the thing is that it's not only me stealing covers, but then you got a cat, one of my cats, that loves to sleep with me. So I feel sorry for him because I'm stealing covers. The cat's trying to get under the covers because she's cold. So the poor guy is like, "Oh my God, okay, here's my wife stealing covers. Now I got a cat coming over here." I got to film it because it really is funny, okay? And there's me and there's a cat. So he always says, and it's a female cat. And he always says, "Well, I always want to be surrounded by women." He said, "So there you go." And the other cat sleeps with my mother. So it's a house full of women. Go figure.
Oh my goodness, poor thing. Hopefully he makes it through it.
I always say to him, I go, "Al, how do you make it through the day?" And he goes, "Oh, very, very simple." He said, "I just close my eyes and ears to everything." So yeah, it is kind of comical at times, especially at night with two female cats running around my mother and me. I always feel sorry for him because he's got to listen to all females, But anyway, you've besides being in modeling, you've been in pageantry. So what, besides Miss International World Classic, what other titles have you won?
Well, I've won Miss International. I've won yours, obviously. Miss International World Pageant. I've won the Miss USA Petite Pageant. I've won Miss Gasparilla. I came in, I think it was second runner-up on Miss Citrus. And I think in Miss American Beauty.
Yeah, American Beauty is a good pageant. That just the fact that you said you won that American Petite, that's a tough pageant. I know a lot of girls that have gone in there, and I mean, not that they've come out frustrated, but they want to know why they didn't win. That it seems to be a tough pageant. If you won that, boy, congratulations, because as I said, I know a lot of heavy hitters that have gone into that and didn't even make the top 5.
Yes, and actually, believe it or not, Angela, that was the very first pageant I won. That was the one at 30 years old that I got that title, and I just felt like I was on top of the world. But I didn't realize at that time that it was so competitive because when I go into, and that's still to this day, when I go into a pageant, I go in to make friends, to make girlfriends. I don't go in really to, so to speak, win the title. If I do, that's just a bonus. But regardless whether I come out with a crown or not, I'm still coming out a winner because I built that confidence now that I'm just like, hey, no matter what, I'm still beautiful. I'm still the same person I was when I started. And, crown or no crown, I still feel great.
No, and you know what? You hear me say that to all the girls. I say, you know what? You're all winners. Whether you come out winning one of those main titles, you've all got a crown on your head, you've all got that sash. You're all winners. You all get out there and do phenomenal community service. I mean, it is. It's amazing. And here's a funny story. First time I got into pageantry, it's a long story how I got in. I got in through the cosmetic industry, and then I got in because they knew I was an entertainer. And one of the pageants, I was in the back doing makeup because I had worked for Lancome for years. And one of the entertainers did not show up. And somebody back there said, well, Angela sings. I said, wait a minute, I'm not dressed because I was back here doing makeup. But luckily for me, I had a tape in the car back then when they were using tapes, and I got out to sing. And before I know it, every pageant in the world was asking me to sing or perform at their pageants. Okay. But the first time I did pageantry myself, I didn't know what to expect. Okay. And I did a petite pageant, and I didn't come into the standings. And then the second time around, they had, this was a fundraiser for muscular dystrophy. It was called The Greatest Legs of New Jersey. All right. That was preliminary to the Greatest Legs. So I went in and I didn't know what to expect. And I went in there, they told the clothing requirements. I had this funny little hairdo, a little bow in my hair, and, just went in there like a plain Jane. And I went in there, and when I saw all these phenomenal looking women, I cried. I knew there was nothing I was going to do in that pageant. Well, I guess it was my motivation because the following year I came back. My hair was to here. It was all highlighted. Okay. I went in with this unbelievable outfit. No one even recognized me. They did not know I was the same girl. When the director came out and I said, you remember me? And he says, no. He said, I don't. I said, see that picture over there? I said, see that little dot in the middle? He just looked at me. He said, that's you? I said, that's me. He said, oh my God. He said, what an overhaul. Guess what? I went out and won it that night. And that was the confidence. So I had, I looked at those other women, but instead of, and that's a story that I always tell a lot of pageant women. Yes, I felt bad, but that was what I needed because it actually turned me around. It got me mad. And I said, that's it. I'm going back next year and I'm going to look like these women. And I did. And I went and I won. So it's a little bit of a crazy story, but that was my introduction to pageantry.
And seeing that's such an inspiration because that's kind of like I think all the girls, they go in, they see what, how the other girls are, the competition they have, and then they come back and they try harder. They don't actually give up. And that's what I love about some of these girls. They're like, look, I'm not going to give up until I win. And I'm like, that's the attitude to keep.
Exactly. And then I've seen girls that have come in for the first time and they do phenomenal. They come in and win because sometimes the girl that does come back or has a lot of experience just gets so tensed up because they really want to win that title that they may mess up an interview or they're just not on their game. So it can go both ways. And one of the things that I learned throughout the years, and my wonderful husband has told me, he said, look, even when you're on that stage, he said, I know you know your craft when you go out there to sing. He said, but you know what? Have fun with it. Don't take it to heart. He said, just go out, have fun, relax. He says, and I think you're going to get better results. And he was right. Okay. Even in the world of pageantry. And even when I go on stage, I mean, you see when I take a microphone in my hand, it doesn't bother me. I don't even look at the audience. They think I'm looking at them. My mind is actually looking someplace else, or I'm looking above, I'm looking at a clock, but you won't know it because that's how I actually get my thoughts together. Okay. But I go out there now and I have fun with it. All right. I don't take it to heart, because if I do, you know what, I'm going to crack. Even with all the experience I've had, you know, stage fright can still come into play. So yeah, I do admire a lot of these girls that come back and they win, and I admire the girls that come in for the first time and don't think they're going to win and wind up taking the whole thing.
And yes, you're correct on that, but I think you're right. You go in to have fun, and that's what a pageant to me is all about, is having fun. I've even gone into a couple pageants actually where the girls' dresses have either the zipper broke, something happened to it. I have a bad habit, maybe good habit, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. I carry two of everything. So I carry two evening, two swimsuit, two interview suits. So I have two of everything. So both of those girls were actually competing against me in both of the two different pageants. I actually had my spare dress. I gave it to them to wear. I mean, I ended up winning the pageant, you know, but I didn't mind. And everybody looked at me like, Tracy, they're competing against you. And I went, and they worked just as hard as I did to get to this point. Why would I deprive them, of not handing my dress over, one of my dresses, for them to wear so they can continue with it and have that opportunity to win?
Exactly. And I felt when you say you have two of everything, you wouldn't want to travel with me, because I take four of everything. Okay. Even when I'm just hosting the pageant and my husband gets mad at me, he goes, I travel with one suitcase. You got to have three. I said, wait a minute. The man's suit. I said, you can change that jacket, change the pants. I said, I got to have my shoes. I said, my gown. So I take four of everything, because I've run into that situation where I've had people say to me, you know what? Something happened to my dress. My zipper broke. Do you have anything extra? What do you have? What do you need? You know? And today, I mean, if you walked in my closet, and that's why in my house, I have to have two closets for all my clothes. Okay. And I always tell people, you never know what's going to come out of my closet. But I do these things for a reason, because if we have to go on photo shoots or things like that, I have extra clothes that I could bring. And I tell the girls, don't worry about it. You know what? I'll bring a suitcase full of clothes, go through it, whatever you like, wear it.
I'm the same exact way. I actually talked Anthony into letting me have have the spare bedroom after his son became 18 years old. I'm like, okay, can I have that room now as mine to have as a closet? And I think it's so much fun. I love walking into it.
Exactly. I do the same thing, you know. But it's funny, because my husband, well, because he worked in New York City, we had to block off the back of the closet, because you want to talk about somebody who's got suits, shirts, and ties. I think he's right up to me. So, you know, and I think I got him into the habit that, yeah, you know, right, I think I better bring two extra jackets, four extra pants. So he's gotten into that habit as well. Because I told him, I said, Al, anything can happen. I said, you know, you could lose something. I even have him pack some stuff in an overnight bag and, you know, check it in, because I said to him, you never know what's going to happen. I said, especially if you're going on stage. And I'll never forget one time when I was performing in Phantom of the Opera, we had a costume malfunction, the back. But I turned around, I said, I'm going on stage anyway. Well, you don't have the train. I said, you know what? The audience didn't come to see the train. They came to hear me sing. I said, so, and I went on stage and we did it without a hitch. And the orchestra leader was hysterical. He said, well, you were supposed to pick the train up at the end. I said, forget the train. I said, it's the music they're listening to. You know what? No one even knew that was part of the show. They were just there to see the show and listen to all that great music. So once in a while, there's an old saying in show business, you have to punt. You have to just go with it.
I totally agree. And I'm glad that you talked him into starting to bring extra suits, because I think he might look a little funny in one of your cute dresses.
Yes, he would. He would look a little funny in the cute dresses. So anyway, I mean, you also work for Tampa Electric Company, and that's great. And I'm sure that when all these hurricanes come up, I'm sure that that's something that you have to put a lot of overtime in.
Yes, we do actually. And actually we had one, you know, since I've been part of the pageantry, we do work 16 hours around the clock. We
Right.
go home, we actually take a shower and literally eat, pretty much sleep for a couple hours and come right back and do it all over again. So definitely our main priority is our customers, to get them back in as fast as possible.
Yeah, and it's funny because my father used to work for a public service a gas company, and when there were hurricanes, oh yeah, they'd go 24 hours around the clock. They would, you know, sleep actually at the gas company, shower, have something to eat, and start the whole thing all over again. So yeah, and with the gas company, because they were dealing with live gas, they used to have something every 12 weeks. They had to be on standby, which meant you were on call for 24 hours. You know, they could call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, there was a gas main break. But when there was a hurricane, oh yeah, the entire company was definitely on standby. So I know exactly what you're saying. But, you know, you're really an all-around girl. I mean, you've got pageantry, you've got modeling, you do a lot of community service, you have a job. So you're a great role model for women coming up in pageantry, because it does show that you can do a lot and encompass a lot.
Yes, and that is very correct. And I'm also a turkey hunter. I've been turkey hunting with my dad since I was a little girl, big enough to carry a gun. And I absolutely love it. It's great one-on-one time with your dad. It teaches you survival. When we're out in the woods, he teaches me survival skills as well. So I am definitely well-rounded. I fish, I hunt, I camp, I do all kinds of fun things.
Yeah, no, that's great. That does teach you. And I think, you know, I'm one of the things, I mean, I love to swim, but I'm not one to go out there with animals, certain animals. But you just reminded me of something. Many years ago, I was in Orlando, and I was sitting on a rock. And what I thought was an alligator coming up next to me, and I was going to run like anything, was actually a very large iguana. And for some other reason, it just sat on the rock next to me. And I looked at it, I said, well, I'm not moving. I said, so you got one or two choices. You could stay here and look at me, or you could move. Well, it's like that iguana understood what I said because it moved. I had to see the size of this thing. And I think from that time on, I got a little more of a nature girl out there. So, and then having my two cats, and, you know, I became a little bit more of a nature girl. But when I was a kid, I was afraid of every animal out there. You would not even catch me picking up a cat or trying to pet a dog. But as time has gone on, yes, you could say I've become a humanitarian with animals.
And that's amazing, though, because animals, you know, they are a lot of fun. I mean, granted, I know I'm a hunter, but there are certain animals, obviously, that God put on this earth for us to be able to hunt and survive off of, you know, as far as eating and stuff. And, you know, like my dad always taught me, you never kill anything you're not going to eat. So I don't actually trophy hunt. There are some people that, you know, that like to do that. And I'm just not that type of hunter. So, you know, it's definitely a good thing to be friends with all of those animals, because you never know which one's going to come at you. So.
Exactly. And many years ago, I'm talking about when I was a kid, and I was in Florida, and I was at the Fontainebleau, and we were swimming in the ocean. And I didn't know why this dolphin was bumping me to shore. Okay. And this dolphin became my best friend. There was sharks actually coming out way beyond us, and the lifeguard was trying to get it. This dolphin just bumped me right to shore, and nowhere's near the shark. I mean, I was black and blue, but that dolphin became my best friend. So you're right. You never know when you get a best friend. But anyway, I mean, with all these great things that you're doing, what are your goals for the future?
Well, my goals for the future obviously are going to be to continue doing my volunteer hours. Like I said before, prior to pageantry, I love volunteering for different, you know, places. I do like to try new, you know, charities. I don't like to try to do the same ones all the time. But I did, you know, as I told you earlier, I did try free bikes for kids. That was an amazing charity that I did this year. But definitely I'm going to continue with that, and obviously, you know, continue my career with Tampa Electric.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, you know, it's our pageants coming up. You're going to be crowning another successor, called Miss International World Classic. But, you know, anyway, like I always tell all the girls, you know, it doesn't matter if you crown a successor. Once we've crowned you with the main title, that title kind of stays with you for life. If you ever want to go out and represent, you know, the organization, well, after you've crowned a successor, you can always do that. You know, we always say, as long as we know what you're doing, it's fine with us, because it shows everyone that, you know, you're still going out there, and it's an inspiration to the other girls as well. But anyway, my dear, I do want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to be with us on Make Our World Your Runway. I want to thank you for being with us next week. And I do apologize for some of the little audio problems that we had and my allergy kicking up. But you know what? We were able to get the show off. And, you know, people will see this next week. And again, I want to thank you for being with us, last week, and being an inspiration for so many pageant women.
And thank you, Angela, so much as always. I have loved, you know, representing this pageant this year. It has just been an amazing year, and I thank you so much for giving me that opportunity.
Oh, well, it's always my pleasure, and thank you for being part of Miss International World and Make Our World Your Runway. And again, have a great weekend. And you know, this is not the end. We'll be doing things before the pageant even takes off. So thank you again. Have a great weekend and keep going. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another great show for Make Our World Your Runway. Another fabulous guest. And as we always like to say, it's lights, camera, action. Make Our World Your Runway. And always stay tuned next week when we will have another fabulous guest. So we want to wish all our viewers out there to have a great weekend. Of course, we have some record-breaking heat. We want you to stay hydrated, stay comfortable. Don't get involved with any health issues. And we'll see you next week when we have Make Our World Your Runway. Have a great weekend.